The Epic of Gilgamesh is one of our oldest written stories, with copies dating back some 4,000 years. While there's no author named for this ancient Mesopotamian odyssey, and we don't know exactly who it was initially intended for, the story of Gilgamesh's quest for immortality and the lessons he learned along the way continue to fascinate audiences today. Hey, I'm Jordan, and this is Bible and Archaeology. In this video, we'll be walking through the Epic of Gilgamesh. Before we turn to the story itself, let's take a moment to address the question of how it is that we have copies of this story at all. Because an important part of why this story is still around to fascinate us is how it was written. The Epic of Gilgamesh was written in Akkadian cuneiform on wet clay tablets, like the one you see here. Using a reed stylus, the scribe would press into the wet clay before drying the tablet in the sun. While clay served as a handy material for writing in ancient Mesopotamia because it was everywhere, it had a second unintended feature that benefits us. Because the texts were written on clay, when the ancient libraries and storerooms holding them caught fire, the tablets didn't burn, but were hardened like clay in a pottery kiln. It is in part thanks to this kind of preservation through destruction that we have the Epic of Gilgamesh today. See, when the Babylonians destroyed the Assyrian capital of Nineveh in 612 BCE, they also destroyed the library of Ashurbanipal, the royal library of the last great Assyrian king. During the library's destruction, over 30,000 cuneiform tablets and fragments were preserved, including the fullest copy we have of the Epic of Gilgamesh, which is spread across 12 preserved but incomplete tablets, though some of the gaps from these tablets have been filled in from copies found elsewhere. So that's how we have the story, but what's in it? The Epic of Gilgamesh tells the story of a king, Gilgamesh, who is the child of both divine and human parents, a goddess mother and a human king father. According to the story, the semi-divine Gilgamesh ruled over the city of Uruk and was known as both a great warrior and builder. However, he's also described as a tyrant who abuses his power over his people. Displeased with the behavior of Gilgamesh, the gods decide to create a new man, Enkidu, to restrain him. To make Enkidu, the goddess Aruru washes clay from her hands and throws it into the wilderness. Like the wilderness from which he emerged, Enkidu was a wild man who lived with gazelles until he was seduced by Shamhat, who uses beer, bread, and sex to tame him before sending Enkidu into Uruk to confront Gilgamesh. When Enkidu and Gilgamesh finally meet, their first contest is a wrestling match. Realizing that they're equally matched, they become friends and set off on a number of quests, which make up the first half of the epic. Their quests include traveling into the cedar forest, killing the monster Humbaba, cutting down several sacred trees, and killing the bull of heaven sent by Ishtar to kill Gilgamesh after he refused her marriage proposal. Displeased with the actions of Enkidu, the gods cause him to fall ill and he dies. The death of Enkidu opens the second half of the epic. After mourning the loss of his friend, Gilgamesh sets off to discover how he can escape death. To do so, he makes his way to Utnapishtim, the man who was granted immortality after surviving the flood. Utnapishtim retells the story of the flood to Gilgamesh, describing how Enlil flooded the world because humanity was too loud, but that by following the dream sent by Ea, he built a boat and survived the flood along with his family and animals. The gods, out of a combination of pity for Utnapishtim, pleasure with his sacrifice, and displeasure with Enlil, grant him and his wife immortality. He says if Gilgamesh wants to be immortal, he too must prove his worth and make the gods pity him by staying awake for 6 days and 7 nights. When Gilgamesh fails to stay awake, Utnapishtim tells him of one last way he can become immortal. He says there's a plant located at the bottom of the ocean that can make him young again if he can find it. Weighing himself down with rocks, he successfully finds the plant and brings it back to the surface. However, once he and the plant are back on shore, it's stolen by a snake while Gilgamesh is bathing in a spring. And so, having failed a second time in his pursuit of immortality, Gilgamesh returns to Uruk, having learned that despite being a great and mighty king, all humans are equal in their mortality. While Gilgamesh fails to achieve immortality in the story, the Epic of Gilgamesh endures, in part because of the way it wrestles with timeless themes, such as love, friendship, and mortality. However, given that we're still talking about his story today, you could ask if Gilgamesh actually failed to achieve immortality. For all of us here at Bible and Archaeology, thanks for watching.